Hi AMC fans, I'm John Dowdle.
And I'm Drew Dowdle.
And our new thriller, As Above, So Below, will be in AMC theaters August 29th.
Before our movie takes you deep inside the Paris catacombs, check out this edition of AMC Movie Talk.
Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chrisley Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me as always is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, Mr. John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
We also have joining us AMC's very own Miri Jetikin.
Hey everybody, I'm so happy to be back. I was gone for a while.
Yes.
And now I'm here. It's nice. Nice to be back at the desk.
And we also have joining us the director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, Mr. John Schnepp.
Hey, what's up everybody? Hey, we got the finishing funds. Thanks to all of you.
Woo-hoo!
Appreciate it.
Hey.
All right, guys, with Batman vs. Superman heading to AMC screens in 2016 and a full slate of DC film dates announced, Warner Brothers is moving full steam ahead with its comic book properties. But according to an article at HitFix, they may be moving ahead without any humor. The article's author, Drew McWeeny, claims that he has heard from 5 different sources that WB has issued a mandate for their upcoming DC films, and the rule is simply no jokes. John, what are your thoughts on the article and the possibility of a no jokes rule at Warner Brothers for their upcoming comic book films?
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. I mean, look, here's the thing. First of all, we should kind of point out that Drew, as a writer, we all actually we know and we all respect and we think he's really good. And so when he writes something like that, you got to take it seriously. Now, with a grain of salt, this is also the same guy who claimed he was confirming that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to be the new Batman. That didn't work out. So we're all prone to that, to hearing bad information and whatever, sure. But when it comes to reliability, Drew's one of the more reliable guys. And he says he's heard it from multiple places that DC's put out a mandate, no jokes. In any of these DC movies, no humor. Okay, so he brings up a couple interesting points. Number one, if this is true, it looks like it's reactionary to the disaster they had with Green Lantern. I didn't hate Green Lantern. I did not like Green Lantern, but I didn't hate it. There was enough stuff in there that actually made it almost watchable for me. Still a massive disappointment in every sense of the word. But the funny thing is that the kind of watchable parts of Green Lantern for me was the humor. Was Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds and doing a thing. What was terrible was an awful villain, awful dialogue, awful setup, like everything else that they kind of blew and messed up, right? And then, at the same time, Warner Brothers has this incredibly successful thing, the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight series. That is, it's all deadly serious. Swear to me, you know, that sort of stuff. So okay, so there's a reaction there to say, well, let's just go to what we know worked for us and go stay away from something that didn't work for us. But it would be a problem of misidentifying what your problems were and what they weren't. Humor in Green Lantern was not the problem. Humor in bad comic book films isn't the problem. It's, used right. And Drew kind of points out in his article, I completely agree with him, that humor in any type of movie is a great tool to have in your toolkit as a filmmaker. Let's even look at a film like Argo, right? Written by the same guy who's writing Batman vs. Superman, starring the same guy who starred at Batman vs. Superman. Argo is a deadly serious film with the highest of stakes and one of the history turning point in our time. And yet, as a filmmaker, Ben Affleck knew that to make sure that the audience doesn't get buried or drown in the heaviness and the seriousness of it, really well-placed moments of humor and gag. Argo F yourself, and other things like that, peppered throughout the film that gave the film an overall great temperature. It was a great tool to use. Was Argo a comedy? Obviously not, but it was used right. Not everything can be Batman. How can you do a Flash movie? Not that we know that they're doing a Flash movie. How can you possibly do a Flash movie and say, no jokes? You can't, unless you're going to completely undermine the character of who the Flash is. I mean, once again, we're talking here on the assumption that what Drew heard was accurate and what he heard was right. Because there's a big possibility this is all bull and nobody at Warner Brothers has actually said no jokes. But if they did, it's a huge mistake. Yeah. It's a massively huge mistake, and I think it would just be the wrong. Look, some people are already telling me online, but John, you don't want it to be, they don't want to just copy Marvel because Marvel uses a lot of humor. Well, that's like saying, well, don't have anybody with superpowers because Marvel does movies with people with superpowers. Don't do anything with drama because Marvel uses drama. I mean, it's just another tool in a filmmaker's tool bag. And to just completely discard it, I think would be completely ludicrous. Completely ludicrous. Anyway, Schnepp, you read this story, you heard about all this, and you've got your foot in these worlds as well. When you hear something like this, what do you think the rationale is here?
Well, to be honest, like my perspective on that article that Drew wrote is like, hey, look, I'm not joining the no jokes club. I don't think that it was I don't think it's a mandate saying there can be no humorous scenes. It's all about tone. That's what I came away from it is if they had a general meeting, like with all the screenwriters who are all writing the cinematic DC universe, they're like, look at Man of Steel, look at Dark Knight, and then over in this corner, let's look at Green Lantern. Now, it's not that it was a jokey film, it was the tone and consistency of that film where it was like super dark, weird, giant-headed villains and poop clouds and stuff, versus, Ryan Reynolds being all extra jokey, which is that's not the character of Green Lantern.
Right.
If you read the comic books, you'd know that is not Hal Jordan. He wasn't all jokey and making fun of the thing. It bothered me as just a fan of the comic book character that, hey, I get Ryan Reynolds, I think he's a good actor and he's funny. He's ill-suited. He would be a great Deadpool. He would be a bunch of million other characters. But with his sense of humor being brought into the Green Lantern and kind of infused into it, it didn't work. And I think the no jokes mandate that might be being said is saying if you're going to have humor, make sure that it works within the script. Like your example of Argo, there's humor, but it's from a character who's being sarcastic. That's not a joke, that's just the character. Yeah. So you can always there are humorous moments in Dark Knight, I'm going to take the Lamborghini. There's all different kinds of little jokes and in-jokes that allow levity and some tension break when you have a little, but it's not a joke. So I think that's what it is take the characters in the universe seriously. That's how I read the no jokes clause.
So if this is true and that no jokes thing is out, you're interpreting them as not saying hard and fast rule, don't write gags. You're saying, in generally speaking, we are not going for a funny tone.
Correct.
See, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't get that from the article. But if you're right, I'm totally all for it.
Yeah, I'm with Shep completely. I think, first of all, I can't imagine a studio would come out with a mandate for 7 or 6 or 10 or 11 films that says no jokes. It's just ridiculous because to your point, all stories require breathing room, whether it's in a book or a movie. Everybody, the people reading, people watching have to have a minute to recover from a big action set piece, like Drew mentions in his article, or from a really tense, sad moment or a really high stakes moment. So I think to put out the mandate that there should be no humor is not realistic. I don't think the studio would have said that, but I do think you're right that maybe it is a tonal thing where they're saying, we are setting ourselves apart from Marvel, but it's also, if you look at the DC characters, as someone who didn't grow up reading loads of comic books, and I would hardly call myself a comic book nerd, if you were to go to the farthest corner of the world and show somebody, let's say this is pre-Avengers, show somebody a picture of Batman and a picture of Iron Man, guaranteed more people are going to know who Batman is. The DC characters have a certain level of iconic transcendence.
At least 2 of them do.
Right.
2 of them do, exactly. But I think there is a certain reverence and respect that Warner Brothers treats the characters with, but I don't think that's a bad thing. And I don't think it's bad to differentiate themselves from Marvel. I think if anything, they have to do that because Marvel is doing what they do so beautifully well that it would be silly for them to be like, well, let's just do what Marvel does. They're taking the darkness of Batman. They did the Dark Knight trilogy, and now Man of Steel was very moody, and I know a lot of people had problems with it. I actually liked the film, and I
love Man of Steel.
I really loved it too.
that
I thought it was great.
I thought it was beautiful, and I thought it was really well done, and I think the world is well realized. I'm really excited for Batman v Superman, and I think it's actually wise, if what you're saying is true, for Warner Brothers to say, listen, jokes are going to be in context. This is a serious thing. We're telling serious stories about superheroes with very high stakes, and Marvel does a great job of bringing together ragtag teams and making it fun and making the dynamic really electric and really magnetic and really quick. And I think if Warner Brothers is trying to move away from that, I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think I'd like to see an entire Batman v Superman movie based on the characters in the How It Should Have Ended universe, where the 2 animated ones are always sitting in that coffee shop. So like Superman, when you fart, does it cause a tornado? But even like you're talking about differentiating themselves from, they've already started to do that even just visually, right? Like look at this picture.
Yeah.
If you look at a conglomeration of the Marvel Cinematic Universe character, bright, colorful, lots of that kind of stuff, and that kind of carries over in the tone as well. Here, obviously, more subdued, more matted, more darker. Even I hate using that word, but darker,
true.
And if they're just going for that in tone, that might not be a bad mistake. It would just be a mistake sake. Make sure there's no jokes.
I'd say almost
for sure.
more cinematic, almost. It's like just using darks and lights and stuff like that. I mean,
Well, also, The Dark Knight Returns being source material is super dark.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you compare that to Guardians of the Galaxy. You can't even compare Guardians of the Galaxy to this. So I feel like that's a bad argument.
you're also taking the lead from Zack Snyder, who directed an amazing adaptation of Watchmen. He did a great job with Man of Steel, and now he's doing this movie. So that's the cinematic lead for the rest of the DC universe to take from. So,
All right, what's next?
It's been announced that Tom Hanks and director Ron Howard are set to start shooting their third film in the Da Vinci Code series, Inferno. The new film will start shooting in April 2015 with a tentative release date of December 2015. Mary, what do you think about a third film to the franchise?
Meh. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I love Tom Hanks. I love Ron Howard. Sign me up to anything these guys do. I just was never a huge fan of this franchise. That said, of course they're going to make a trilogy because the first film was like ridiculously successful. The second one, I don't think it was a huge success, but it still pulled in like around 500 million. So it wasn't it didn't do badly.
Yeah.
These are, sort of Hollywood juggernauts that are almost impervious to trends. And I feel like people will come out to see this movie. Of course the studio is going to do it. I just am not that excited about it personally because these films never really resonated with me.
Yeah,
So.
Schnepp?
I mean, I like the first one. Didn't that have Paul Bettany as a weird, albino?
Because he did exactly that.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah,
what
that's
he
how
did.
he walked. Oh, so I saw that one. I thought it was all right. I didn't see the second one, so it's not really in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, why not make a trilogy for all those people who are like, I can't wait to read the next Da Vinci Code. It's like all those people love the books and they've translated into a box office. So it's a good translation from book to film. So
Yeah, I am with you, Miri, on this. I have no enthusiasm, despite that I practically worship at the altar of Ron Howard and Tom Hanks. I watched the first one really excited to see it, and it's like, I've always kind of held up that first Da Vinci Code movie as the poster child about why holding as direct to the source material as possible is not necessarily a good thing. Because they did a great job being as much as you could in just a 2-hour movie, to like literally just transferring that book story into the thing, and while it worked on the printed page, did not work on the screen for me. I was completely underwhelmed by the first film, completely didn't like the second film at all. So I have no enthusiasm for this. One of the great directors of our time, one of the great actors of all time, and yet I can't have any enthusiasm for it. I mean, go figure.
would it be amazing if this was incredible, this movie?
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love it. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for buy and sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chris Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
A Good Day to Die Hard and Max Payne director John Moore has just officially signed up to direct the upcoming Pierce Brosnan revenge thriller, IT. IT will feature Brosnan as a book publisher whose livelihood and very life become threatened by an angry IT consultant. Schnepp, buy or sell the sounds of IT?
I buy it. I love the sound of this, and I like that it's just IT also means it. It's like, so some guy messing with this guy's life through the internet. It sounds incredible. Sign me up. It sounds great.
Mary?
The problem is that every time I hear about this, I think of the cable guy. So I can't, I'm going to sell it just because I don't feel like this is a particularly original premise, and I don't necessarily buy Pierce in that role. I don't know. I haven't seen The November Man yet, so I'm not sure how he's playing in the sort of dark action thriller thing. But, I've seen him do it before, but I don't know. And with Pierce, I always think of Mrs. Doubtfire. So I'm having a lot of problems accessing this, preview sort of descriptor with anything other than laughs.
I can't log on. Right?
This kind of highlights the fact that I'm actually a little bit older than you, because when I think of him, I think of Remington Steele. But I'm actually looking forward to November Man. I haven't seen it yet. I know they've already announced a sequel to it, which is probably just a marketing ploy to say, look, folks, you should really go see November Man because we're so confident and we're planning a sequel. And this sounds a little bit like November Man to me, but the premise sounds really good, but I gotta sell it. And I'm going to sell it basically on the premise that it's being directed by the same guy who directed A Good Day to Die Hard and Max Payne. That does not elicit in me a lot of enthusiasm and confidence. That's not to say he's not capable of giving us something that's amazing, and we'll give it a shot when it comes out. I think the premise sounds interesting. I love Pierce Brosnan as a performer. But, if I got to buy or sell right now, Max Payne director?
I know.
I
but
sell.
I buy it on the premise and Remington Steele.
And fair enough, sir. Fair
Cable
enough.
guy. Cable
All right,
guy.
what's next?
Actress,
I like the cable guy.
Oops. Actress Lake Bell is apparently set to direct her second feature film based on the novel The Emperor's Children. The novel is about the intersections in the lives of three friends, now on the cusp of their 30s, making their way and not in New York City. John, buy or sell Lake Bell directing The Emperor's Children.
Remember our last story? I just said, even though I like the premise, because of the director and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to sell it. Well, I hate this premise, but because of the director, I am going to buy this. I love Lake Bell.
Yeah.
Not only as an actress, I love her and stuff. Once again, I'm always preaching about this movie called A Good Old-Fashioned Orgy with Lake Bell, Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
Watch it. It is so funny. But she just directed her first film called In a World. And it is brilliant. It is wonderful and funny, and the characters are rich, and it's got subtlety to it as well. It's a great film. And ever since I saw it, first of all, I was just flabbergasted that she directed it as a first-time effort. And then I was like, okay, I want to see anything she does next. Something that sounds like a poor man's Sex and the City? Sure, whatever. Sign me up. So I hate the premise, but because it's her, I buy. Schnepp?
I'll buy it just because she's doing the Xavier mind. Like, you will buy it, won't you? Yes, Lake Bell, I have bought your movie. Yes. That's all I haven't seen In a World yet, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see it, Lake Bell.
That's awesome. I buy this for the same reasons. I thought In a World was, flawed, but an amazing first effort for a feature film. I've interviewed her a bunch of times. She's super smart. She's really working hard to become a director and a real director, and not just like, I'm an actor and I'm going to play with it. Like, this is something she really wants to do. She's very motivated. And the thing I love about In a World is how you were saying how like rich the characters were and how human it was. It felt real. The conversations felt real. She had a really good sense of how people interact in space and in time that feels like a real thing. And I think for this premise, I think she's actually the right director. I don't just think it's like, oh great, she's a girl, so yay. I think she's actually really the right choice for the source material.
And didn't it feel like they shot In a World for like $50?
Yeah.
And I liked it. I'm seriously, I mean that as a good thing. It's so great because it's
Don't you mean $150, John?
Can I just say that I love that she used Jerry Rafferty right down the line as like one of the songs in the movie, because it's like one of my favorite songs ever of all time. Thank you.
All right, what's next?
It seems we all just can't get enough of anything related to Batman versus Superman, so here's something for you. A couple of more pictures from the set of the upcoming movie have found their way online, showing what appears to be the Gotham City jail. John, buy or sell these new images?
I sell them, and I'm not selling them because of the images themselves. Look, I understand, I am as excited about Batman versus Superman as anybody. But when I get online and I see thousands upon thousands of social media interactions and tweets and comments on a picture with a sign that just says Gotham City Jail.
It's a doorway.
It's a doorway. Relax, everybody. Seriously, I jumped online this morning and like all these messages coming at me. I thought for some reason we were going to see Ben Affleck with a resurrected Heath Ledger holding the Joker by the throat saying, did you see this production still? Like, it's a doorway, everybody. Relax. So just because of the hoopla surrounding this, I'm going to sell it.
But John, people walk through it who are in the movie. There are characters who will walk through that doorway. Don't you understand?
Some of the most villainous characters in the Batman pantheon have walked through that doorway.
But, okay, so I sell this for sure for the same reasons, but there are pictures of criminals inside, and I think, I don't know if there's been a lot of speculation.
Yeah, if you look at the wanted signs in the back
there's like
there.
wanted. So I feel like Warner Brothers
Eagle eye.
Warner Brothers did a smart thing here, because while I agree with you that this is like, guys, it's a doorway. Let's all calm down. But for the diehard freakazoid fans that are looking for every single Easter egg and every single little thing in a picture, they're going to take a magnifying glass. They're going to be like,
I know. I can totally see
who are these villains?
Yeah.
You know. So I think that's kind of cool and smart for Warner Brothers.
You know
to really
those
tease
magnifying
the fans.
glasses that people who make little models have?
Yes.
It's on a stand and they're like that.
Yeah.
Like in the
You
40-Year-old
see-
Virgin when he's painting his
Yes.
little.
It's one camel hair, like, you know.
You can see like just a bunch of the sweaties now sitting there looking. Wait, that guy's skin looks a little rough. Maybe that's the lizard.
Exactly.
That is Ziz, I can tell. That's actually making me want to look at that. I wonder how
Exactly.
high res is that photo.
See,
Maybe
that's
later I'll
what-
go
that's-
check it out.
That's why I think
I
they're
won't
kinda
check it
smart.
out. Maybe later I will. Yeah, it's a doorway, I buy it.
All right. We've reached that part of the show for mailbag, folks. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, listen, we're going to save a few minutes at the end of the show to take some of your live questions. If you're watching us live, just tweet in some questions to @AMC Movie News, and we'll try to get them while the show is on. But for now, let's get to the mailbag. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
We have John Ortana who writes, "What up, AMC? Your show is undoubtedly the coolest ever. I got a quick question. Do you think with all these new video game movies in the works that we will be in an age where video game adaptations will reign supreme and start blowing away competition like comic book movies have done in the past 5 years?"
No. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's get one good one under our belt first. Because as of right now, we have no good video game movies. All due respect to Resident Evil fans. Wait, was Resident Evil a video game?
Yes.
Yeah, all due respect.
Raccoon City.
Yep.
But, Mortal Kombat, huge guilty pleasure of mine. As I said on one show before, you acknowledge it's a horrible movie. Like, Mortal Kombat's a horrible movie, but
I love it though.
But I have like such great love of it.
Yeah,
It's like having great sex with an ugly girlfriend. Like
Oh,
you
God.
acknowledge it's a terrible thing, but you had a good time. And
Mortal Kombat.
Exactly.
Okay,
I saw that. I remember seeing that in theaters. That was so much
I
fun.
did too, and I was so pumped when
fun.
I came out of it. But let's get one good comic book movie under our belt first. Like right now, we've got a huge catalog of great comic book movies under our belt that has led to this point of it dominating the box office. We have some potentially good ones coming out. The two in particular, one of course is Assassin's Creed, and we've got Michael Fassbender attached to that. And we got Warcraft with the director of Moon attached to it, Duncan Jones.
Love
I mean,
And he did Source Code.
And Ben Foster
Yeah,
is attached
he's
to it,
amazing.
who is one of the most underrated actors in the world today. We've got potential here for two really good ones. If these two can be good, hell, even if one of them can be good, like really solid, it could open the floodgates and get a lot more of these into production. But let's at least get one good one under our belt
Yeah,
before
for
we
sure.
start talking about them dominating the box office.
Chris Pratt for Nathan Drake. That's all.
Bam.
You're not alone in that.
That's all.
Yeah, I would love to see a slew of incredible
Yeah, totally.
adaptations of video games. Really good films that I was playing as a first person, and now I'm watching a really cool movie version of it. That would be fantastic. Will it happen? I think it will. Will that question be happening? Maybe in 10 years. Because it takes time. What if Warcraft and Assassin's Creed are incredible and make $1 billion each?
Changes the game.
It changes the game, but then all those movies have to go into production 3 to 4 years down
Yeah,
the road.
you're
so
looking at, like,
you won't
another
see,
generation.
Yeah, you won't
Like
see
another
that
20 years.
change that he's talking about. It's like a sea change of like from comic book characters to video game characters. It's already there, the merging of comic book characters of video games. You're playing Batman in Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
those
love
games
those
alone
games.
are just fantastic journeys, and they have a brand new one coming out. So those kinds of characters are always translating back and forth, and I think eventually that'll happen with video game characters. But
Where we need to get some quality ones.
Yeah.
What about the
First,
fact
yeah.
that the source material is totally different also? You're dealing with comic books, which are two-dimensional, and it's a different kind of interaction, whereas video games are
50
interactive.
years, 50 years of
Exactly.
storytelling.
So it's like it's kind of an interesting idea when you look at the source material and how they're different and how that impacts the way movies are made around the source material.
You can't take a comic book. A lot of people are like, well, comic books are just storyboards for a movie. They're not. It's a
No,
totally
they're not.
different
That's such a
medium. It's like a
silly-
book is different from a film is different from a comic book.
And there's
They're
so many
completely different.
ways to put a comic, like you see in different graphic novels, the way they frame pictures and come out of frame, and I mean, there's so many different styles. That's such a silly thing to say.
Yeah, and once
storyboards.
again, it's like it's the reader is in charge of the comic book. A movie takes you along and pushes you through the film.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in charge of the video game as a first-person character, they have to take that and change it completely and make it an actual story.
Now, you're going to think I'm joking when I say this, but I honestly dead seriously mean this. One of the things that I would love to see if comic book or if video game movies can start getting a track record of success and quality and things like that, I'm not kidding. I would love to see another studio take a shot at a new imagining of a Mario Brothers movie. I really would. I think it could be really fun.
I
and
think
cool.
you're right.
Think about like Michel Gondry
Oh my gosh.
doing Mario Brothers. That would be so rad.
All right, let's go on to the next question.
Aiden Sapal writes, "Hey, sons and daughters of AMC Movie Talk. My question is short and sweet. If David Fincher were to direct a superhero film, what would it be?"
Mario Brothers. Honestly, great question, and I'm not just saying just because it's kind of coming up, but Instantly, when I heard that question, my first thought was Doctor Strange. Could you imagine a Doctor Strange? Like, I couldn't see him doing an Iron Man film. I couldn't even see him doing like a Black Panther or an Ant-Man. A Doctor Strange movie directed by him?
Yeah.
That would be pretty intriguing. What about you, Mary? Who would you peg him?
Well, you know what? I love this question because I love David Fincher and I love the idea of putting him in this world in general. But he's so good with strong female characters that I would love to see him do Catwoman or Black Cat or Wonder Woman even. Just because I'd like to see how he treats a female character in this world because he's so good with like strong renegade women. That's my take.
I would strong female character, Abigail from Swamp Thing. I would say Swamp Thing because that brings all of
That
his.
sounds like it'd be more in his vein too.
Yeah,
Swamp
it's
Thing
in
is a great
his
call.
game and also a very strong female character. So.
All right, folks, so I said we save a couple minutes for your live Twitter questions. We got time for a few of them right now. So, Chrisley, what have you picked out?
Natalia Collins, the first question, and she wants to know who your favorite film composer is. Hers is John Williams.
Always will be. Always will be. It's killing me. I go every year to the Hollywood Bowl to see the John Williams concert. Last year was hosted by Julie Andrews.
So amazing.
It was so incredible. This year's being hosted by Seth MacFarlane. And I forgot we've got a friend's birthday in Vegas. So we had to give up our tickets to go see John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl as hosted by Seth MacFarlane. And that is killing me a little bit inside. But it will, to me, look, there are great composers. And in the history of composers, some great ones. Julie Andrews' passed away husband, for example, one of the best ever. But the fact of the matter is that when you think about the most iconic scores of all time, it's always John Williams.
Yeah.
Superman, Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., Star Wars. I mean, it's all the same guy.
He's amazing.
It's going to be a while before I think we get somebody who's on. It's a Mount Rushmore of one right now. So I mean, that's just my opinion anyway. But although there are some great composers out there, Schnepp.
Who came to mind immediately when I heard that question was Howard Shore. Because
Yeah.
I've been on.
He's kind of the other.
Yeah, but not even his big soundtracks. I'm a fan of like all of his Cronenberg, like Existence and Videodrome.
Yeah.
They're just so weird and
Videodrome.
fun to listen to. But yeah, he always hits it out of the park. I'm a fan of Hans Zimmer's recent scores as well.
Zimmer. Basil
Palladores from
who did
Conan.
Yeah.
I love John Williams. I agree with you. I think all the names being tossed around are amazing. The people that I thought of were maybe a little bit less sort of iconic or celebrated or up on that pinnacle because I do think John Williams is sort of the godfather. But I love Morricone because I just
Thank
love
you.
like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And
I was trying
he's
to
so good
remember
at
his
creating
name.
tension
Yeah.
in those moments with really just a few keys or a few chords. I love anything, like I know it's silly, but like Tangerine Dream. I love the stuff they did
It's
for
not
like
silly, they're awesome.
Risky
Legend.
Business. I mean, like I like that. I love Danny Elfman because I feel like he has such a signature.
Another amazing one.
There's so many. It's such a great question.
Let
I
me
love
throw
these
John
kinds of
Carpenter
questions.
into that wheel bag.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot. There's a lot.
And let's not forget that Robert Rodriguez has scored a couple of his own films.
There's a great article.
Okay, no, let's forget that.
Great article in Hollywood Reporter about him right now. Actually, the Emmys issue.
Oh,
about
really?
Robert Rodriguez, just as a side note.
Okay.
Really, really
And of course,
interesting.
Bernard
Q&A.
Herrmann. If you
yeah.
want to go back in time, let's
Well, I
go.
love that Quentin Tarantino pulled up some Bernard Herrmann for Kill Bill. He like kind of reintroduced
Yeah.
the whistling is Bernard Herrmann.
Okay, let's get to a couple more really quick here.
The chat board is singing with Zimmer. Just have to throw that out there. They are singing with it. Okay, Jabari Troop writes, would you like to see Leonardo DiCaprio in a superhero movie? And if so, which character would you like to see him as?
I generally don't even like these questions because it's like, hey, how about this guy in a comic book movie? Well, sure, he's a great actor. He'll be great in. He's Leonardo DiCaprio. Put him in anything, he'll be good in it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, what's next?
I was going to say, have him play the Joker.
It's possible, unless he, no jokes. Anyway, okay, what's next?
Enrique Weissel writes, will there ever be a Warriors remake?
Yeah,
Probably. right?
without revealing too much, I know that there's going to be a Warriors remake.
Nice.
So yes,
It would make sense. It has such a following. I mean,
Yeah.
people love it.
It almost happened like 3 years ago, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It
I mean,
should.
Yeah.
What a fun movie. I'd love
Yeah.
to see a new
Most of the
version
audience
on
today
that.
hasn't seen
No,
it.
that's
It's
it.
a
It's
great
like,
visceral
it's-
experience.
And a lot of people don't know about it, so it's kind of perfect for a remake
Yeah.
because it doesn't have a lot of relationship.
All right, let's take two more real quick.
Brendan Weissman wants to know, what's the latest on the Chronicle sequel?
Yeah, Chronicle is a film that has almost as much drama going on around it as any other film I've ever seen. I mean, of course, you had Max wrote it, you had Josh Trank direct it.
Right.
They said they're going to do another one. Josh Trank immediately backed out, and then he got connected to Fantastic Four, and then Max Landis produced a script for it that was a continuation of the story, and then back and forth with Fox, and then the reports are that Fox didn't want his script because they didn't want a continuation of the story. They wanted him to write like Chronicle all over again. Just write another one that's pretty much the same thing with a different set of kids. And Max kind of balked at that, which I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
And walked. And at that point, then I heard they brought somebody else on. They were going to develop the one they wanted, but then I've heard nothing since then. What I'm hoping is that Fox got the message that we don't want just a repeat of Chronicle. I want a continuation of that story. There's a lot of really cool directions and open threads that they left in that one. I want to see a Chronicle sequel, but only if it's a Chronicle sequel, not a Chronicle Part 2. You know, a redux, if you will, of just the original story. So that is the last that I've heard of it. So as far as I know, it's in limbo right now. Have you guys heard anything different?
No, I agree with you. I hope they continue with the sequel, and I hope they use the same actors who've since gone on to do some incredible work. You've got like Dane DeHaan, and I would like to see those actors back in those roles because they left it to be continued. I mean, I don't want to give anything away if people haven't seen it, but the ending is certainly doesn't have a ton of closure.
No,
it could go in a million directions.
It's like the prelogue to the next film. The ending,
Yeah.
the last scene of that movie is like the prelogue to the next
It
film.
made me want to see another film. That's why.
It's a great origin story for superheroes, and it's really well shot and really well done. I was blown away when I saw it.
And wouldn't it be cool to do like, this is the source material of superheroes? Like, this is a movie that kicks off a new generation of superheroes. That would be so awesome.
Well, it's like they create a Superman and Lex Luthor right there.
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
but you know, I mean, depending on what they do with the sequel, if they aren't going to make a direct sequel, and they're saying, hey, it's a brand new group of kids, could it be, you know, the same source area and these other kids find it a couple days later? I could see how they're going to try to milk it, and it's easier to do it that way. But I would rather not see that. I'd like to see a continuation.
Me too.
But
All right, last question of the day.
All right, Tiana wants to know, she said there's new Mockingjay character posters came out and no Katniss again. When do you think we're getting some? And maybe a theatrical trailer too.
Well, the theatrical trailer's out. I mean, I just saw it again. I saw it online and I saw it in theater watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles again. At least the second time I saw it. You know, I would say, wait, character posters coming out and no Katniss, what's going on? But they've got a trailer which features Katniss, so she's there. It's a good question, but the fact of the matter is that since there is a trailer and we've seen her in the trailer, it kind of takes any mystery out of it for me. The most fascinating thing for me, we mentioned this on AMC Movie Talk before, was that one of the character posters shows Effie in District 13. If you have read the books, that didn't happen. So they're obviously going to have a change of course here in the books, which I think might be for the better. But as far as I know, no idea, really. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably just the marketing team felt that, you know, it was a smart move to really sort of trump up the other characters and maybe give them a little bit more airtime in public spaces, like where they put posters, and not focus as much on Katniss because they want people to align themselves with different characters and just enhance the universe, expand the universe.
Right. I think when they do drop that poster, it'll be like incredible. You know what I mean? Like she'll be in a weird outfit, like some amazing, like, oh man, maybe like a month before the movie comes out.
Yeah,
you know?
I think you're right. When they drop it, it's going to drop hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, folks, well, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thanks so much for joining us today. Don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to our podcast feed so you can listen to us in the car or on the bus or when you're working out, whatever. I want to thank the people sitting at the table with me. First of all, Mary Jedikin. Mary, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Miri the Jedi on Twitter and Instagram.
Of course, the one and the only Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you?
You guys can find me at Twitter.
And your fully funded film.
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram at John Schnepp. SupportSupermanLives.com. Still, we're working on getting recreation scenes done, and we're at Cinefamily this Sunday as part of the Everything Is Festival, so come out and see us.
And of course, our host today, Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on social media at Chrisley.
And you can find me on the various social media channels at John Campia. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. So until tomorrow, my name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until then, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.